Welcome back. Now, in this particular video, once again, we are going to spark curiosity, bring about creativity, and put on our critical thinking caps through project-based learning activities. So, therefore, in short, it is how our learners are going to connect real-world learning with real-world skills. Today, we are going to explore something that makes our writing clear and meaningful. So, bring about this question to our learners and let them guess what it is. Pause for their responses, and then you may say that they are going to learn about punctuation marks through chapter 2, the scholar's mother tongue. These are the little symbols that help us understand where to stop, how to ask questions, and how to express emotions in writing. So every PBL has certain components. So the first component, the concepts covered, are punctuation marks. The learning outcomes are the students will respond, or our learners will respond to a variety of questions on familiar and unfamiliar texts verbally and in writing. The objectives will be the learners will be able to match the symbol with the punctuation mark, use punctuation marks appropriately, comprehend the story that's given in the PBL, and they will create a piece of art using punctuation marks. Now, every PBL has a think question. What are those marks in the sentence of my storybook? Let's start with a fun thought. Okay, so our learners can think about a storybook. What are those little marks between the words and at the end of sentences? So, it might spark their curiosity where they will start thinking, do these help us read with the right feeling? Do they make sentences clear? Do we use them at the end of sentences? And do they show when someone is talking? Now we can say these are full stops, commas, question marks. All of these are punctuation marks. So let's meet our punctuation friends. The first activity says, who are these little signs in between the words? Well, we'll begin our activity 1 by recollecting all the punctuation marks we know. On the board or in their books, they can draw these symbols when you call out, like a full stop or a comma or a question mark and an exclamatory mark. Now they will listen to a cute story about the question mark. In a place called Bashe Halli, some happy punctuation marks lived. A confused question mark arrived and asked, "What do I do?" And the dot explained, "You make sentence curious." Isn't that interesting? So read this story for our students. Let's read the story for our learners, and then they can go ahead to answer these questions in their own words. So once they are done with that, they can move on to activity 2, what am I? For this activity, they will match each punctuation symbol with its name. They will give you the symbols and they will tell you which is which. So to begin with, what do we call this symbol? As a teacher, you can point out to a particular symbol, and when they call out the name of the symbol, it can be matched. Activity 3, punch the sentence. In activity 3, as a teacher, we can read out, or we shall read out, some sentences aloud. For example, are you coming out tonight? The learners will decide what punctuation mark is missing. So let's try. Are you coming out tonight? And then you can guide them with the right punctuation by stating what should go at the end of the sentence. So at the end of the sentence goes the question mark. So bingo, our learners would learn how to punctuate the sentences given in their PBL. Moving on to activity 4. In activity 4, the learners will rewrite incorrect sentences by fixing the punctuation. For example, who is knocking at the door has a full stop. Can you correct it or can our learners correct it? So our learners will discuss the answers briefly and then they come out with the right answer saying who is knocking at the door ends with a question mark. So like this, they can finish all the other sentences given. Activity 5. Go punctuation. Go punctuation. For a fun creative task, the learners can draw pictures using punctuation marks, like a house made out of commas and hyphens, or a fish using apostrophes, or a tree using commas. They can be as imaginative as they like. These are a few examples. Next, we have something called as creative space. Okay, so to wrap up, our learners can draw themselves asking a question to their favorite person. It may be their mother, it can be you as teachers, or a superhero. So there is a box given below. They will write a sentence using a question mark. So the questions can be as follows. What was your favorite toy when you were a kid? What would you do if you could be invisible for a day? What was I like when I was a baby? These are a few questions they can take up and finish their creative space. Next, finally, we check what they have learned with a short quiz, that's through the self-assessment questions. There are few questions with multiple options, so our learners can pick the right option, tick them, and then move on to the OMR sheet to shade them using a pencil or a blue or a black ballpoint pen. Then, for all solutions to all the self-assessment questions provided at the end of each PBL, teachers, you may refer to Teachopia, and there is a path that's given below. So we can end this particular PBL by saying or by letting our learners know that they have not only learned about punctuation, but they have acted, they have drawn, they have matched and created. That's what makes learning fun and memorable. And to continue, they can observe punctuation in their books and write using the correct marks. So let our learners become punctuation champions. With that, I would say thank you.